The morning sun cast long shadows across the peaceful colony of New Haven. Children played in the streets while their parents worked in the fields and factories. Nobody knew that death was coming from the stars. Queen Zara of the Krillian Empire stood on the bridge of her massive warship. Her 4 arms were crossed as she looked down at the human world below. Her skin was a deep purple color, and her eyes glowed with a cold blue light. She wore armor made from the bones of her enemies, and her crown was carved from a single piece of black stone. "How many humans live on that planet?" she asked her general. General Vex stepped forward and bowed his head. "About 2 million, my queen. They have basic defenses and maybe 50 small ships." Zara laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. 2 million humans against our fleet of 300 warships. This will be easy. The Krillian fleet spread across the sky like a dark cloud. Each ship was the size of a city, covered with weapons and armor. The humans had never seen anything like it. Their ships were small and weak compared to the alien giants. Governor Mills sat in the emergency meeting room of New Haven's Capitol building. Sweat ran down his face as he looked at the reports coming in from space. The alien fleet was massive. His people had no chance against such power. "Sir, what are our orders?" asked Captain Torres, the head of planetary defense. Governor Mills closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face was hard with determination. "Send the distress signal to Earth. Tell them we need help." "Sir, Earth is 3 weeks away even with the fastest ships." "We don't have 3 weeks." "I know," Mills said quietly. "But we have to try." Captain Torres nodded and began sending the emergency message across space. The signal would travel faster than any ship, but help was still very far away. High above the planet, Queen Zara received word that the humans were asking for talks. She found this amusing. What could these weak creatures possibly say to her? Still, she enjoyed watching her enemies beg for mercy before she destroyed them. "Tell them I will speak with their leader," she commanded. "But make it quick. I want to start the attack before the day is over." The communication system activated, and Governor Mills appeared on the main screen. Queen Zara studied the human carefully. He looked old and tired, but there was something in his eyes that she didn't expect. He wasn't afraid. He was angry. "I am Queen Zara of the Krillian Empire," she announced. "You will surrender your world immediately, or we will take it by force." Governor Mills sat straight in his chair. "I am Governor Mills of New Haven. We are a peaceful colony. We have done nothing to harm your people." "You exist," Zara replied coldly. "That is enough. Humans are spreading across the galaxy like a disease. We will stop you here and now. Our defense fleet is moving to intercept your ships," Mills said. "But I don't want unnecessary death on either side. Give us time to evacuate our civilians." Queen Zara laughed again. "Your 50 little ships against our fleet. They will be destroyed in minutes. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we begin the attack." Governor Mills was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a calm voice. "We sent a distress signal 3 hours ago. Help is coming." "Help from where?" Zara asked, still smiling. "Your nearest military base is weeks away. We have studied your positions carefully." "We didn't call the regular military," Mills said. His voice was steady and sure. "We called the Terran Defense Corps." Several of Queen Zara's officers exchanged glances. The Terran Defense Corps was elite, but they were still human. Still weak. "And who exactly did you call from this defense corps?" General Vex asked with a sneer. Governor Mills looked directly at Queen Zara. His eyes were hard as steel. "We called Rex." The effect was immediate and shocking. Queen Zara's confident smile vanished. Her purple skin turned pale gray. Her 4 hands began to shake. General Vex dropped his data pad, and it clattered loudly on the metal floor. Rex, whispered Captain Callow, the navigation officer. His voice was full of fear. Every alien on the bridge took a step backward. Some of them began breathing faster. Others touched the weapons on their belts, as if having guns nearby would make them feel safer. Governor Mills watched their reaction with growing interest. He had heard stories about Rex, but he never imagined that just saying the name would cause such fear among their enemies. Queen Zara tried to control herself, but her hands were still shaking. "You lie," she said, but her voice was weak. "Rex is just a story. A myth." "Rex is real," Governor Mills said firmly. "And he's coming here." The communication ended. The human governor's face disappeared from the screen, leaving the bridge in terrible silence. General Vex slowly picked up his data pad from the floor. His hands were trembling. "My queen, surely this is just human propaganda. They're trying to scare us." Queen Zara turned to face her officers. Her confidence was completely gone. "You fools. You don't understand what that name means." "But my queen," Captain Callow said carefully, "he's just one human. What can one person do against our entire fleet?" Queen Zara's blue eyes blazed with anger and fear. "Just one human? Do you know nothing of our history? Do you not remember what happened to my sister?" The bridge became even quieter. Every officer knew the story of Queen Yara, Zara's older sister who had ruled the empire before her. 3 years ago, Yara had led the greatest Krillian invasion force in history against human space. She had commanded 1,000,000 warriors and 500 ships. She never came back. "My sister was stronger than me," Queen Zara continued. "She was a better fighter, a better leader, a better queen. She had more ships and more warriors than I do now. But she met Rex in battle." General Vex swallowed hard. "What happened to her, my queen?" "Rex killed her," Zara said simply. "He boarded her flagship alone. He fought through 2,000 of our best guards. He defeated her in single combat. Her death broke the spirit of our entire invasion force. They fled back home in shame." The officers looked at each other with growing fear. They had all heard pieces of this story, but none of them knew the full truth. "But my queen," Captain Callow said desperately, "that was 3 years ago. Maybe Rex is old now. Maybe he's not as strong." Queen Zara laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Rex doesn't get weaker with age. He gets more dangerous. Every battle teaches him something new. Every victory makes him stronger." She walked to the viewing window and stared down at the human planet below. The colony looked so small and peaceful from space. It was hard to believe that such a place could call forth the most feared warrior in the galaxy. "My queen," General Vex said quietly, "what are your orders?" Zara was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke without turning around. "Put the fleet in maximum defensive formation. Every ship is to activate full shields and weapons systems." "But my queen, we came here to attack. If we take defensive positions, we'll look weak." Zara spun around, her eyes burning with fury. "We are weak, you fool. We are about to face the human who single-handedly destroyed the siege of Titan's Gate. The man who infiltrated the Vorthan fortress world and disabled their planet-killer weapon with nothing but his bare hands. The warrior who commanded 12 human ships against 300 enemy vessels in the Battle of the Crimson Nebula and won." Each name she spoke made the officers more afraid. These were legendary battles, spoken of in whispers across the galaxy. "How do you know all this?" Captain Callow asked. "Because I've spent 3 years studying him," Zara replied. "After what he did to my sister, I swore I would be ready if I ever faced him. I've read every report, watched every battle recording, interviewed every survivor who ever fought against him." "And what did you learn?" General Vex asked. "That we should have never come here," Zara said quietly. "Rex doesn't just win battles. He destroys the will to fight. He doesn't just defeat his enemies. He breaks them completely. The bridge communication system suddenly activated. It was a message from the human defense fleet. Alien vessels, came the voice of Captain Torres, you are ordered to leave this system immediately. You have 1 hour to withdraw, or you will be engaged. General Vex laughed nervously. 50 human ships against our 300. They must be insane. But Queen Zara wasn't laughing. She was staring at the tactical display, watching the human ships move into formation. They were small compared to her fleet, but they moved with purpose and discipline. My queen, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a priority message from our advanced scouts. Put it through, Zara commanded. The voice of Scout Captain Drix filled the bridge. His words came fast and filled with panic. My queen, long-range sensors have detected a single human ship entering the system. It's moving at maximum speed toward our position. Queen Zara's face went completely white. What type of ship? It appears to be a modified cruiser-class vessel, my queen. Ship designation, Defiant. The word hit the bridge like a physical blow. Officers gasped. Some of them stepped backward. General Vex grabbed the nearest console for support. Rex's ship, someone whispered. Queen Zara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them again, her face was hard with determination. All ships are to maintain defensive positions. No one attacks without my direct order. Is that understood? Yes, my queen, the officers replied in unison. How long until the Defiant arrives, she asked. 6 hours, my queen. 6 hours. Queen Zara had 6 hours to prepare for the most important battle of her life. 6 hours to get ready to face the legendary human warrior who had destroyed her sister and broken the pride of the Krillian Empire. She looked around at her officers. They were all afraid, but they were still loyal. They would follow her orders even if it meant their death. Listen to me carefully, she began. In 6 hours, we will face Rex. Many of you will not survive this battle. But we are Krillians. We are warriors. We will not run like cowards. The officers stood straighter, drawing strength from their queen's words. Prepare every weapon. Check every system. Make sure every warrior knows what we're facing. And remember this, Rex may be legendary, but he's still just one human. We are 300 ships with 1,000,000 warriors. If we work together, if we stay disciplined, we can win this fight. But even as she spoke these brave words, Queen Zara couldn't forget the image of her sister's broken fleet limping home in defeat. Rex was coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread through the Krillian fleet like wildfire. Rex was coming. Within an hour, every warrior on every ship knew the name that struck fear into the hearts of their enemies across the galaxy. In the barracks of the flagship, young Krillian soldiers gathered around Sergeant Mach, a veteran who had served in many battles. His purple skin was marked with scars from countless fights, and his eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen too much war. Tell us about Rex, Sergeant, said Private Zek, a soldier who had never fought humans before. Is he really as dangerous as they say? Sergeant Mach was quiet for a long time. He stared at the metal wall, remembering things he wished he could forget. I was there during the siege of Titan's Gate, he said finally. I saw what one human could do against impossible odds. The young soldiers moved closer. Stories of Titan's Gate were legendary, but few people who were actually there ever talked about it. It was 3 years ago, Mach continued. Our empire had decided to test human defenses. Titan's Gate was a small mining station on the edge of human space. It had maybe 1,000 civilians and a few dozen guards. That sounds easy, said Private Yell. Mach laughed bitterly. That's what we thought. General Korak sent 50,000 warriors to take the station. It should have been over in 1 day. Instead, it took 6 days, and we lost. The soldiers looked confused. How could 50,000 Krillian warriors lose to a mining station? Rex was there, Mock explained. He arrived just as our first wave attacked. One human, one ship, one chance to save those civilians. What did he do? Zek asked. Everything, Mock replied. He turned that mining station into a fortress. He used the asteroid field around it like a maze, making our ships crash into the rocks. He programmed the mining equipment to fire at our ships. He even used the station's communications array to jam our signals. Mock stood up and walked to the small window in the barracks. Outside, he could see the human colony growing larger as their fleet approached. But that wasn't the worst part, he continued. The worst part was how he fought. Rex didn't just defend the station. He attacked us. His ship would appear out of nowhere, destroy 2 or 3 of our fighters, then disappear again. He was like a ghost. How did it end? Asked another soldier. On the 6th day, Rex broke our siege completely. He had given the civilians enough time to evacuate, and then he destroyed our command ship. General Korax barely escaped with his life. We retreated in shame. The barracks became very quiet. These young soldiers had joined the military thinking humans were weak and easy to defeat. Now they were learning the truth. Meanwhile, in another part of the fleet, Captain Thane was meeting with his senior officers. Thane was one of the few Krillians who had actually fought Rex and lived to tell about it. "Sir," said his lieutenant, "the crew is asking questions about this human called Rex. They want to know what we're really facing." Captain Thane looked tired. His ship had been part of the force that attacked the Vorthan Republic's fortress world 2 years ago. What happened there still gave him nightmares. "The Vorthans hired us to help them test their new superweapon," Thane began. "They had built something called a planet killer. A weapon so powerful it could destroy entire worlds from space." His officers leaned forward. They had heard rumors about this weapon, but never the full story. The Vorthans were very proud of their security. Their fortress world was supposed to be impossible to attack. It had 1,000,000 guards, force fields, automated defenses, and weapons that could destroy fleets. "What happened?" asked the lieutenant. "Rex happened," Thane replied simply. "Somehow, he got onto that world. We still don't know how. The Vorthans had sensors everywhere, but Rex moved through their defenses like they weren't even there." Thane stood up and began walking around the room. Talking about this always made him nervous. "I was stationed in the command center when the alarms started going off. At first, we thought it was a system error. The sensors showed one person moving through the base, but that was impossible. No one could get past the outer defenses. But Rex did," said another officer. "Rex did more than that. He didn't just sneak around. He fought his way through the entire base. 1,000,000 guards, and he went through them like they were children. He used their own security systems against them. He turned their robots into weapons. He made their force fields trap them instead of protecting them." The officers exchanged nervous glances. This didn't sound like any human they had ever heard of. "How did he destroy the planet killer?" the lieutenant asked. "He didn't use any fancy technology," Thane replied. "He didn't have explosives or special weapons. He had a combat knife and his bare hands. But somehow, he got into the weapons control center and sabotaged the main power core. The whole system shut down permanently." "One man destroyed a planet-killer weapon with a knife?" an officer asked in disbelief. "That's not even the strangest part," Thane continued. "When he was done, he just walked out. The Vorthans were so shocked and terrified that they didn't even try to stop him. 1,000,000 guards, and they just watched him leave." In the Queen's private chambers, Queen Zara sat alone, looking at old battle reports on her personal computer. These files contained every piece of information the Empire had collected about Rex over the past 3 years. She opened a file marked Battle of the Crimson Nebula, and began reading again, even though she had memorized every detail. The battle had happened 18 months ago. The hegemony of worlds, a collection of alien races, had decided to test human military strength. They sent a massive fleet of 300 warships to attack a human convoy in the Crimson Nebula. The convoy had only 12 ships, carrying supplies and civilian passengers. It should have been a quick victory for the hegemony. Instead, it became one of their worst defeats in history. Rex had been commanding the convoy escort when the enemy fleet arrived. Instead of running away or calling for help, he had chosen to fight. The battle records showed something that military experts still couldn't understand. Rex had used the nebula's strange energy fields to hide his ships. He had turned the convoy's cargo containers into weapons. He had even used the enemy's own size against them, making their ships crash into each other. But the most amazing part was how he had commanded his tiny fleet. Every move was perfect. Every decision was exactly right. It was like Rex could see the future and knew exactly what his enemies would do before they did it. By the end of the battle, all 300 enemy ships had been destroyed or captured. Rex's 12 ships had suffered almost no damage. The hegemony of worlds had never tried to attack humans again. Queen Zara closed the file and opened another one. This one was more personal. It contained the final messages from her sister, Queen Yara, during her invasion of human space. The first message had been confident and proud. Yara had assembled the largest invasion force in Krillian history. 1 million warriors, 500 warships, enough power to conquer entire star systems. The second message, sent 3 days later, was more worried. Human resistance was stronger than expected. Their tactics were strange and unpredictable. The invasion was taking longer than planned. The third message was desperate. A single human had appeared and was destroying Yara's fleet ship by ship. Her commanders were panicking. Her warriors were losing the will to fight. The final message was just 5 words, Rex is here. We're lost. After that, nothing. Queen Yara's flagship had been found drifting in space 3 weeks later. Yara was dead, killed in single combat. Most of her fleet had been destroyed. The survivors who made it back home were broken and defeated. Queen Zara had never seen her proud, strong sister look afraid of anything. But in those final messages, Yara's fear of Rex was clear. A communication alert interrupted Queen Zara's thoughts. My queen, came the voice of her communications officer, we're receiving reports from our scout ships. The human vessel Defiant will arrive in 3 hours. 3 hours. Queen Zara stood up and walked to her window. Below, the human colony looked peaceful and quiet. Soon, it would become a battlefield. She activated her ship's communication system and spoke to her entire fleet. Warriors of the Krillian Empire, she began, in 3 hours we will face the greatest challenge of our lives. Rex is coming, and he brings with him a reputation built on the bones of our enemies. Her voice carried to every ship in the fleet, reaching nearly 1 million warriors. You have heard the stories. Some of you think they are just myths meant to scare children. I am here to tell you that every story is true. Rex has defeated armies single-handedly. He has destroyed weapons that could kill planets. He has broken the will of empires. The fleet listened in silence. Even the youngest soldiers understood the seriousness of their situation. But we are not other empires, Queen Zara continued. We are Krillians. We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Yes, Rex is dangerous. Yes, he has never been defeated. But he is still just one human, and we are 300 ships. Her words began to restore confidence in her forces. They remembered their own proud history of victories. Prepare your weapons. Check your armor. Say goodbye to your families. In 3 hours, we will either win the greatest victory in our history, or we will die with honor. Either way, we will show Rex what it means to fight the Krillian Empire. As her speech ended, alarms began sounding throughout the fleet. The advanced scouts had spotted something on their sensors. My queen, called the bridge communications officer, Scout Captain Drix reports the Defiant has increased speed. It will arrive in 1 hour, not 3. Queen Zara's confidence wavered for just a moment. Rex was coming faster than expected. But she forced herself to stay calm. All ships, battle stations, she commanded. This is not a drill. Rex will be here soon. Across the fleet, millions of warriors began preparing for the fight of their lives. Weapons were loaded, shields were activated, and engines were brought to full power. But in the quiet moments between orders and preparations, many of them wondered the same thing: how do you fight a legend? How do you defeat someone who has never lost? How do you win against the impossible? In exactly 1 hour, they would find out. The silence across the Krillian fleet was complete. 300 massive warships hung in space around the human colony, their weapons ready, their shields at maximum power. Nearly 1 million warriors waited for the arrival of one human ship. Queen Zara stood on her command bridge, watching the tactical display. Her 4 hands were clasped behind her back, but everyone could see them shaking slightly. Around her, officers whispered prayers to their ancient gods. My queen, called the sensor operator, his voice tight with fear, contact on long-range sensors. Single vessel approaching at high speed. The main display screen activated, showing a small dot moving toward their fleet. It looked tiny compared to their massive ships, but everyone on the bridge knew what it represented. Visual confirmation, Queen Zara commanded. The screen changed to show a sleek human cruiser painted in dark blue with silver markings. It was beautiful in its simplicity, built for speed and maneuverability rather than raw power. Along its side, they could read the name, Defiant. Rex, someone whispered. The human ship slowed as it approached the outer edge of the Krillian fleet. It stopped exactly 1 kilometer away from the nearest warship, close enough to be threatening but far enough to show confidence. My queen, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it through, Zara ordered. The screen filled with the image of a human male. He appeared to be middle-aged, with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform with no fancy decorations. Everything about him seemed ordinary, except for the absolute confidence in his expression. This was Rex. I am Commander Rex of the Terran Defense Corps, he said in a clear, steady voice. You have threatened a peaceful human colony. You have exactly 10 minutes to withdraw your fleet and leave this system. Queen Zara found her voice. I am Queen Zara of the Krillian Empire. You face 300 warships and 1 million warriors. Surrender now, and I will make your death quick. Rex smiled slightly. It wasn't a cruel smile, just the expression of someone who had heard such threats many times before. You have 9 minutes and 30 seconds, he replied calmly. The transmission ended. General Vex stepped forward. My queen, he's just one ship. Should we attack? Queen Zara stared at the tactical display. Rex's ship sat motionless among their fleet, surrounded by vessels 100 times its size. It should have been helpless, but somehow it didn't feel that way. No, she said finally. We wait. Let him make the first move. The minutes passed slowly. Throughout the fleet, warriors checked their weapons and said final prayers. The tension was almost unbearable. When exactly 10 minutes had passed, Rex's voice came over the communication system again. But this time, he wasn't asking for surrender. All civilian vessels in the area, this is Commander Rex. Please move to minimum safe distance. Combat operations will begin in 60 seconds. Queen Zara felt a chill run down her spine. Rex wasn't running away. He was warning innocent people to get out of the way before he started fighting. All ships, she commanded, attack formation. Target the human vessel. Fire on my command. 300 Krillian warships turned their weapons toward the tiny human cruiser. Thousands of weapons locked onto Rex's ship. It should have been over before it started. Fire, Queen Zara ordered. Space lit up with energy beams and missiles as the entire Krillian fleet attacked at once. The firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. But when the light faded, the Defiant was gone. "Where is he?" Zara demanded. "Sensors show nothing, my queen," the tactical officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. Then explosions began lighting up the rear of their formation. 3 Krillian ships were destroyed in the first few seconds, their hulls torn apart by precise attacks. "There," someone shouted, pointing at the tactical display. Rex's ship appeared on their sensors for just a moment before vanishing again. He had somehow moved through their entire fleet without being detected, striking from behind where they least expected it. "How is he moving like that?" General Vex asked. Captain Torres, watching from his defense post on New Haven, could have answered that question. Human ships were built differently than alien vessels. They were smaller, faster, and much more maneuverable. Rex was using those advantages perfectly. The Defiant appeared again, this time attacking from the side. 2 more Krillian ships exploded before Rex vanished once more. He was using the fleet's own size against them, hiding behind their massive ships and striking when they couldn't return fire without hitting their own forces. "Spread the formation," Queen Zara ordered. "Give our ships room to maneuver." But Rex was already adapting. As the Krillian ships moved apart, he began attacking their communication arrays. Without good communications, the fleet couldn't coordinate properly. Ships began getting in each other's way, confused by conflicting orders. "He's jamming our signals," the communications officer reported. "How?" "We have the most advanced communication systems in the galaxy." "He's not using technology to jam us, my queen. He's using tactics. He's making us jam ourselves." Queen Zara began to understand what she was facing. This wasn't just about superior human technology. This was about superior human thinking. Rex was turning their own strengths into weaknesses. The battle continued for 2 hours. By the end, 60 Krillian ships had been destroyed and another 100 were damaged. Rex's ship had taken some hits, but it was still fighting effectively. "My queen," General Vex said desperately, "our warriors are losing hope. They've never seen anything like this." It was true. The Krillian forces were beginning to panic. They had never fought an enemy who could strike from nowhere and disappear like a ghost. Their training hadn't prepared them for this kind of warfare. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions around the flagship," Queen Zara ordered. The remaining Krillian vessels formed a protective wall around their queen's command ship. If Rex wanted to continue the fight, he would have to come to them. For several minutes, space was quiet. The Defiant appeared on their sensors, moving slowly toward the center of their formation. "He's coming straight at us," General Vex observed. "Finally, we can end this." But Queen Zara was more worried than relieved. Rex had spent 2 hours proving he was smarter than her entire fleet. Why would he suddenly charge into their strongest position? She got her answer when Rex's ship suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, heading directly for her flagship. The Krillian vessels opened fire, filling space with deadly energy. Rex's ship took heavy damage, but it didn't stop. At the last possible moment, the Defiant crashed through the flagship's shields and smashed into the docking bay. Alarms rang throughout the ship. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Through the smoke and sparks, a figure emerged from the wreckage of the human cruiser. Rex stepped into the Krillian flagship, and the real battle began. The first squad of Krillian guards rushed toward him with energy rifles and combat blades. These were elite warriors, trained from birth for combat. They should have easily overwhelmed one human. Instead, Rex moved through them like water flowing around rocks. He didn't waste motion or energy. Every step, every strike, every dodge was exactly what needed to happen. Within minutes, the entire squad was defeated. More guards came, and then more. Rex fought his way through the ship's corridors, heading for the bridge. He didn't just rely on superior fighting skill. He used the ship itself as a weapon, turning the Krillians' own security systems against them. Emergency blast doors that were meant to stop intruders became traps that separated guard squads. Defense turrets that should have shot Rex instead fired at Krillian warriors when he hacked their targeting systems. Even the ship's artificial gravity became a weapon in his hands. How is he doing this? General Vex asked as they watched Rex's progress on the security monitors. He studied us, Queen Zara replied with growing admiration and fear. Just like I studied him. He knows our ship designs, our tactics, our weaknesses. He's been preparing for this fight for years. Rex reached the bridge level and began moving toward the main command center. The last line of defense was Queen Zara's personal guard, 50 of the finest warriors in the Empire. They attacked Rex all at once in the corridor outside the bridge. The fight was brutal and intense, but Rex's skill and determination were beyond anything they had ever faced. He didn't just defeat them, he demoralized them. By the end, the remaining guards were retreating in fear. The bridge doors opened, and Rex walked inside. Queen Zara stood alone in the center of her command bridge. Her officers had fled or been defeated. Her massive fleet was in chaos. Everything she had built was falling apart. You came, she said simply. You threatened innocent people, Rex replied. That was your mistake. I am Krillian royalty, Zara said, drawing her ceremonial sword. I will not surrender. I didn't ask you to, Rex answered. The final battle was between two leaders who represented their entire species. Queen Zara fought with the fury and pride of the Krillian Empire. She was strong, fast, and trained in combat from childhood. But Rex fought with something more powerful than training or natural ability. He fought with the unbreakable human spirit that refuses to give up, no matter what the odds. The fight lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. In the end, Queen Zara found herself on her knees, defeated but still alive. Kill me, she said. Finish what you started. Rex looked down at her, then did something that surprised everyone who would later hear this story. He offered her his hand. You fought with honor, he said. Your people don't have to die today. Queen Zara stared at his hand for a long moment. Then she took it and allowed him to help her stand. What do you want? She asked. Leave this system and never come back, Rex replied. Find someone else to fight, or better yet, find someone to be friends with instead. Queen Zara looked around her ruined bridge, then at the tactical display showing her broken fleet. Most of her ships were still intact, but her warrior's spirit was completely defeated. My sister was right, she said quietly. You don't just win battles. You break the will to fight. Only when I have to, Rex answered. I prefer peace. Within an hour, the Krillian fleet was withdrawing from human space. They would return to their empire and tell stories of the day they met humanity's greatest warrior. Some would say Rex was superhuman, others would claim he had magical powers. But those who were there knew the truth. Rex was just a human being who refused to give up, who fought for what was right, and who proved that sometimes one person really can make all the difference. As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, Rex returned to his damaged cruiser. The people of New Haven would rebuild and continue their peaceful lives, protected by the knowledge that when they truly needed help, heroes would answer their call. The legend of Rex would grow with each telling, spreading across the galaxy as a reminder that courage, skill, and determination could overcome any odds. And somewhere in space, humanity's greatest warrior continued his patrol, ready to answer the next call for help.